A criminal conspiracy threatens to wipe out England's cultural heritage, one robbery at a time. Police struggle to catch an obsessed thief as artifacts worth millions disappear into London's underworld. In Great Britain in the 90s, the English began to appreciate art and antiquities as never before. As their interest escalated, prime pieces became more valuable. The price of art skyrocketed, and so did art theft. London, a city with the largest concentration of galleries and museums in the world, was particularly hard hit. Limited or outdated security systems were no match for dedicated thieves. On December 5, 1993, a small private art gallery called the Nortman was targeted. The burglars were a highly trained group of thieves who made their entrance through a roof hatch in the building next door. Once inside, they used a sledgehammer to gain access to the gallery. They planned it perfectly. They smashed through the wall without damaging any of the hanging artwork. In a matter of a few minutes, the thieves stole 15 paintings, including 5 by famous Dutch masters. The loss of a Bruegel, a Marquet, and a Van Goyen would make headlines. Overall, the haul was worth nearly $2 million. The Nortman Gallery heist wasn't discovered until the next day. Inside the gallery, Scotland Yard detectives found no real clues, only the destruction the thieves left behind. Whoever pulled this job off knew exactly what they were after.
What's that picture down there, all right?
They had the opportunity to steal much more, but targeted specific paintings.
Tell you what, Constable. Take a walk next door, have a word with the owner of the building, see if they've got any.
The boldness of the thieves and the efficiency of the heist made news all over Britain. Scotland Yard detectives knew they were dealing with professionals who understood the art market and would know exactly how to move the stolen paintings.
That was taken from the Nortman Gallery.
They would have to work quickly before the famous works disappeared overseas or into a private collection forever.
What do you think?
Investigators canvassed art dealers all over London's West End.
Mr. Raleigh?
They hoped one of the dealers had spotted the stolen paintings.
Copies of some of the pictures we're going
It was a long shot that didn't pan out.
Just catches you on the side. I'd appreciate if you
At the time of the Nortman heist, London was overrun with art thieves. In the 1990s, art and antiquity theft in Britain was second only to drug crimes in terms of profitability. Alexandra Smith, operations manager for Art Loss Register.
There was an enormous rise in art theft, and every few months it seemed to be a different type of theft that was being done.
Magazines and television shows had popularized the value of antiques. Even the smallest pieces were bringing enormous prices.
Where do we begin?
10
pounds?
People
Outrageous.
started taking notice of the treasures in their own homes.
I have to consult my client. 25.
I would think we're pushing the price.
Yes, I think
somewhere around 20 to 30,000 pounds.
Really?
absolute top, yes.
How amazing.
Yep, it's a wonderful,
It's a wonderful thing,
object.
never seen before.
As police discovered, common criminals were also becoming art experts. Armed with information gleaned from books and periodicals, they could now identify antiques worth stealing.
We have heard, apparently, that the most popular book read in prison is the Miller's Antique Guide. So they are starting to educate themselves from prison.
This new breed of thief, the art criminal, was brazen and smart. They exploited weaknesses in their target's security, stole precisely what they came for, and then simply disappeared. The police couldn't keep up with the criminals. They simply did not have the resources or the expertise to deal with the billions of dollars of art stolen each year. Scotland Yard finally established a special squad to deal with the thefts. It covered London's extensive gallery and auction house district in the West End. Despite dedicating all their resources to the Nortman heist, police still had no clues. As the days turned into weeks, they began to wonder whether the paintings had been stolen to order.
Because at the end of the day, if they are stolen to order, the person who wants that work of art will keep it, and it won't ever surface again on the art market until perhaps he dies.
Stolen or otherwise from various museums.
It was becoming clear that if the paintings were hidden in someone's private collection, the Antiquities Squad might never see the missing paintings again.
Constable, follow me. What's that?
Weeks after 15 paintings worth nearly $2 million disappeared from the Nortman Gallery in London, police were no closer to finding the thieves.
Take a walk next door, have a word with the owner of the building, see if we got.
They were concerned for good reason. The bold crime was only one of many such robberies. Robberies that had now expanded from galleries to antique stores. Shops specializing in high-end antiquities fell prey to the cunning thieves. They broke in at night and snatched only the very best merchandise. Alarm systems were apparently no match for their expertise. Investigator Chris Roberts works undercover to find stolen antiquities.
The simple fact is that no matter what your security is, determined thieves, if they want to break through and steal, they will. And they can do it fairly quickly. Alarms, the response time to alarms, security cameras, all the gadgetry that modern man can invent, develop, and put into place, generally speaking, can't stop a determined crook.
The floodgates were open, the thefts continued, and the police were powerless to stop it. Art theft was big business, and Scotland Yard was overwhelmed. The Arts and Antiquities Squad tried to track stolen paintings, vases, china, and even furniture. They were only able to recover a small fraction of the stolen pieces.
We'll say we drop a couple of them minor things.
But even those small successes
You know, it's gonna be a
generated
sustained
leads.
sentence. You're not going to serve any time. We got a couple of outstanding warrants on you.
Police rounded up suspects and brought them in for questioning. Although they agreed to talk in exchange for lighter sentences, they turned out to be middlemen in a much larger scheme. Interrogation revealed the men had heard rumors of a mastermind, a highly educated art expert who had planned and executed the Nortman heist. But none of them knew his name.
Well, so much for Hamlet,
Scotland Yard would have been shocked to learn that Professor Richard Lucas was the man they sought.
And how else would you describe it, do you think? Blake, would you go on to
The
next
tweedy intellectual
transfer,
did not
please?
fit the profile of a thief.
Thank you.
But Lucas lived a double life.
Today is Dryden's All for Love.
To his colleagues and neighbors, he was a
Shakespeare's
respected
All's
educator.
Well that ends well. Both of them a sort of analogy for life.
Privately, however, he was a compulsive collector. When he wasn't teaching, he scoured antique shops, picking up all the treasures he could buy. Lucas collected virtually everything old, from books to clocks, from porcelain to fine art. He surrounded himself with hoarded treasure.
Yes, indeed.
He'd been educated very well in the private sector, so he wasn't short of money, but he seemed to live in an almost fantasy world where he lived in this tiny little flat, had to surround himself with beautiful objects, and be the only person who actually got to see them.
Lucas prowled the museums of London, coveting all that he saw, but knowing the things he wanted were beyond his grasp. The best pieces, the museum pieces, simply weren't for sale, at any price. But Lucas wouldn't accept that. He went to an antique dealer named Thomas Atkinson.
This, by contrast, this is very nice indeed. This is
Atkinson had a shady reputation.
And
May I help you, gentlemen?
He assured the professor he could obtain the things he needed.
as I was saying, this is exactly the sort of thing I am very interested in.
Even if his methods were outside the law.
Now you see, Mr. Atkins, so these are very nice.
It was
They're
the
not really
perfect
very
partnership.
valuable.
Indeed.
Mr. Atkins, so these
Lucas
are very
provided
nice.
his art expertise.
Valuable. They're not the sort of thing we're interested in at all.
Atkinson would provide the thieves.
So do I.
Professor Lucas had his eye on a collection of Worcester vases, displayed in a small London museum specializing in 17th century porcelain. Atkinson went to work. First, he assembled a gang of experienced thieves. The men studied the collection and photographed the layout of the museum where it was housed. Once surveillance was completed, the gang looked for weak points in the museum's security system. What once seemed like a complex job suddenly became old-fashioned burglary. It seemed too good to be true. Were they missing something? Atkinson decided to find out. Atkinson followed a museum employee to a pub he frequented. After a few pints of lager, they became fast friends.
I got it.
Atkinson learned that some of the collections in the museum weren't protected by electronic security measures. Atkinson and his accomplice, Leslie Mason, then walked into the museum with the only tool they would need: a bottle of solvent to dissolve a thin layer of adhesive that secured the vases to their display case. No alarm sounded. No security gates came crashing down. The men simply walked out with their prize. Robbing museums was easier than shoplifting, and London was full of museums.
I think that we can probably find...
The professor proudly displayed his precious vases. When the police arrived at the museum, they were perplexed. The thieves had taken 2 Worcester vases, worth thousands of dollars apiece.
saw what they did with that. They just put some
But they
solvent on
hadn't touched the
bottom, walked
rest
off.
of the valuable collection.
Yeah. You were in at 9.
What kind
until
of thieves were they dealing with?
So you almost kind of like leave together. You just finish it up.
The professor's obsession escalated. With Atkinson as his partner, he realized he could have anything he wanted. And what he wanted most of all was rare books.
Quite old, of course, 17th century.
Lucas had been a familiar face at the London Library's rare book room.
2 volumes you requested.
There he'd pore over priceless old manuscripts, coveting every fragile page.
He was a fanatical collector and very passionate about old books and items that weren't owned by him. And the books that he specifically wanted, he couldn't actually buy on the open market.
Everyone at the library thought that Lucas was an eccentric old professor doing research. In reality, he was simply making a shopping list. Lucas charmed a librarian, convincing her to help him steal rare books. The result was the perfect blend of passion and profit. Lucas kept the books he wanted, and Atkinson sold the rest. Their inside source made certain no one would notice the books were missing. Libraries aren't known for their tight inventory control, nor are they the usual targets of crime. The simple plan worked flawlessly, and the thefts continued for months, book by priceless book. The hemorrhage of these national treasures continued until February 1994, when the head librarian received a letter. The anonymous sender claimed some of the library's rarest and most expensive volumes had been stolen. They were being sold on the open market. The librarian thought the letter was a hoax. He had no idea any of his volumes were missing. An inventory of the rare book room revealed the letter was no crank.
It seemed abundantly clear that quite a few books were missing from their secure library. And there was no way that these books should have been missing because members of the public couldn't actually take them out. They were to be viewed on the premises only.
Nearly 80 books, some of them 400 years old, were unaccounted for.
Especially the 6-volume.
The theft seemed familiar.
400 years old.
Only the most valuable books were taken, and police were unable to trace them.
Someone might be able to walk out of a rare book room with it.
The librarian had no idea of how this could have happened.
Do you have a sign-in sheet when people come into the library?
At the time of the library heist, the arts and antiquities thefts were capturing national attention. Pressure mounted on Scotland Yard to find the missing items. Panicked museum owners scrambled to upgrade or install security systems.
So, Mr. Atkinson.
Emboldened by their success, Lucas and Atkinson hit their biggest target to date, the Nortman. The robbery went off without a hitch.
Yes, that was exactly right.
Lucas was thrilled with his new acquisitions. Atkinson was just as thrilled with his new money. Together, there was no telling where they could go or what they would acquire. In 1992, an English professor and a common crook teamed up to rob London's finest museums and galleries. They made off with some of the empire's greatest treasures. After weeks of working the case, police finally got a lead on an art handler named Robert Black. Investigators from the Arts and Antiquities Squad went undercover to see if Black would implicate himself.
We established a really good rapport. I was explaining to him that I would sell things on his behalf in Canada and the States, and I had some clients in South America. So he put together quite a collection of things.
Black liked to talk. Not only did he reveal he trafficked in stolen art, he gave investigator Roberts the information he had been waiting for.
He explained to me how they had broken into the Nortman Gallery. He showed me how they went along the tops of the walls. And in fact, he took me into a West End gallery and said to me, because we're getting on so well, pick anything on the wall here and I'll have it for you within a week.
Might have something in it.
Police got a warrant to search Black's house. Inside, they found information implicating him in thefts of stolen artwork. Still, Black refused to talk. He gave information on the Nortman heist, but he didn't know the location of the paintings. Police hit another dead end. In desperation, they publicized a reward for information leading to the return of the stolen paintings. An informant finally came forward. He told them about a house in the Swiss Cottage section of London's West End. A house that was supposedly filled with stolen antiquities.
How do you know about this place?
He said the home belonged to an English professor named Richard Lucas.
They grew too big and too successful. And every criminal in town knew about their activities. Every criminal who knew a police officer wanted a slice of the reward and the action.
Police took a close look at Richard Lucas. They learned that he was an Oxford-educated English professor, that he was a loner and an eccentric, and that he fancied himself an expert on antiques.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Richard Lucas.
In September 1996, police arrived at the home of Richard Lucas. They were armed with a search warrant and accompanied by antique experts.
Yes, sir. We have a search warrant for your premises. You can take them upstairs. Thank you very much.
We entered the property not knowing really what to expect. And every surface that you could see was covered with little knickknacks and net skis and boxes and clocks. And it seemed very obvious that he was a fanatical collector. But were fairly shocked when we walked in to find that the staircase was littered with books. And it was actually very difficult to actually walk up the stairs and enter the property.
It took more than 2 days to search his property and inventory the thousands of antiques and books worth nearly $1 million. To police, the most valuable book in Lucas's collection was one he had written himself. The compulsive collector was also a compulsive note-taker.
Come take a look at this.
He'd kept a log of the names of the men he'd hired to steal for him and detailed the crimes.
Look at this guard layout.
Among the priceless clutter, police also found one of the stolen Dutch master paintings from the Nortman Gallery.
Detective, what I found.
What you got there, lad?
Eventually, the rest were found as well, scattered about as if they were old magazines.
Oh my God.
Detectives tried to find the rest of the gang.
Lots of people got my name in their books.
They questioned the men listed in Lucas's notebook.
So you never had any dealings with us, Mr. Lucas?
All of them refused to cooperate,
Anything to do with any antiques?
except one, Leslie
You've been a
Mason.
busy little boy, haven't you?
Mason finally broke under police questioning. The small-time burglar admitted he had been recruited by Atkinson and Lucas to help plan and execute the enormously profitable heists. In fact, over a 6-year period, the two masterminds recruited about 10 gang members to do their dirty work. With Mason's help, Thomas Atkinson and Richard Lucas were linked to 27 robberies between 1990 and 1996. In that period, they had stolen millions of dollars worth of art and antiquities.
Sir.
Police have only recovered less than a third of what was taken. Richard Lucas was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Thomas Atkinson received 6. The treasures that once lay at their fingertips are now mere pictures and books borrowed from the prison library.